Um, I'm a little frustrated because I heard a lot about love. And one thing that I know is it's not because of the lack of love that we're not able to feed our children. It's not because of the lack of love that we are able to house people. It's not the lack of love that we are unable to save people from dying because they don't have health care. The other thing that frustrates me is people who have experienced poverty, who have gotten the straps for their bootstraps.
Did you hear that? That moment perfectly captures what many people describe as the disconnect in Washington, D.C. It was Ilhan Omar speaking, and she sounded clearly frustrated. But the focus of that frustration was a pastor, Latasha Fields, a Black woman whose life story centers on overcoming hardship. What you're about to see highlights what some commentators describe as two very different visions of America. One perspective emphasizes faith, family, and personal determination. The other focuses more on the role of government in addressing inequality and supporting people facing systemic challenges. In this exchange, critics argue that Omar appears dismissive of Fields' testimony. Fields shares her experience of growing up in poverty and working her way toward a different life, using that story to argue that others can also overcome difficult circumstances. Supporters of Fields say her message is about personal responsibility and resilience. Those critical of Omar's reaction say it comes across as mocking someone who beat the odds and is now encouraging others to believe they can do the same. We're going to watch the full clip because moments like this are important to understand. If the exchange resonates with you or raises strong feelings, many creators encourage viewers to like, subscribe, and share so more people can see what's happening during these hearings.
Tasha Fields. I am the founder of Christian Home Educator Support System in Chicago, Illinois. I want to thank Chairman Yumeth for having me, the Ranking Member Womack, and members of Congress. It's a blessing to be here today. I have been married to Ronald Fields II for 13 and a half years. We are home educators of 4 wonderful children. I have 2 girls, 22 and 3, and 2 boys, 12 and 9. My husband and I are both born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I spent 33 years there before I came to move to Chicago, Illinois, 7.5 years ago to expand our evangelistic work. We serve as the overseers and pastors of our Report Ministries and Publication in Chicago. I am also the founder of Christian Home Educator, which is a homeschool academy, and Christian Home Support System, which is our support group. These are evangelistic outreach ministries to serve and support the families of the city of Chicago and surrounding communities. We provide assistance, resources about home education, cooperative educational and recreational resources, curriculum and parental rights issues, and much more. Our mission is to empower parents to take back the responsibility of educating their children. I am also the state coordinator of parentalrights.org, a volunteer of Junior Achievement of Chicago, and a member of Cure Clergy Network. I also have over 19 years of entrepreneurial experience, with 14 of those years being consecrated in the real estate industry and several certifications in property management and nonprofit housing. I am also a recent graduate of Trinity Christian College in Palo Heights, Illinois, with a bachelor's degree in business administration with a 4.0 GPA. So let me tell you a little bit about my journey, which is nothing short of the grace of God towards me. My grandmother, who raised me, also raised 9 kids of her own, was a homeowner living in a poor Black drug-infested community in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. She raised me and my younger sister. My mom was a teenage mom on drugs, in and out of prison. My grandmother was a strong woman, hardworking woman. She showed tough love and had amazing independent work ethics. So I basically grew up in a typical Black stigma community surrounding me: the lack of motivation for education, promiscuous behavior, drugs, crime, and some on welfare. In spite of the circumstances that surrounded my childhood, I was one that often fought against the odds. I had a love for education. I never did drugs and I never committed a crime. But however, I did fall into promiscuous behavior, and at the age of 17, I became a teenage mom. This was the turning point of my life. I will never forget the day that I found that I was pregnant. I went into a Planned Parenthood in my neighborhood. I was devastated, I was frightened, and I was scared, because I was one of those kids that excelled in school, was popular in school, played sports, was on the homecoming court. You name it, I was in it. So basically, I kept myself from the normalized behaviors that plagued the Black community. So becoming pregnant was embarrassing to me. I didn't want to be like the rest. I had always strived to be better. I didn't want to be like the social norm. I didn't want to be another statistic. I didn't want to be the 72% of moms raising a child single. So while waiting for the results of my pregnancy test, I was crying and I was thinking how I had ruined my life. The nurse came back in the room and she told me that I was 3 weeks pregnant, and she consoled me that I had another choice. I had a choice to abort my baby. In that very moment, my life flashed before my eyes because I had a big decision to make. Do I get rid of my baby and proceed as normal, as though nothing happened, and go back to my family and friends and continue to live out my life? Or do I live the rest of my life knowing I had killed my baby? Do I keep my baby and face the challenges that lie ahead of me and press past the shame, the regret, and the disappointment? I chose the latter. I chose to do what I will always hear my grandmother say: you make your bed hard, you lie in it. Those words rang loud and clear in my heart and mind. Yes, we did this. No one else is responsible for the choice we made. I must take responsibility for my actions and live with it. Live the best possible life I can, give my child the best possible life I can, finish high school, go to college, and make something of myself. I decided, in spite of my teenage pregnancy, that I would continue to press past the popularized social norms of the Black community. I worked hard. I graduated from high school 5 months pregnant. During my teenage years, I worked at Burger King. I was a part of an entrepreneurial program that we had. I worked there throughout my high school years, from 15 till I graduated. But I was a mom, so I had to continue working at Burger King to provide for myself and my baby. I lived with my grandmother for several months after I had her, and she encouraged me to get on food stamps, to receive WIC, and to receive child care assistance. During this time, she also helped me to get my first apartment. After about 9 months of renting, the real estate company asked me, did I want to buy a house? I was shocked. I was excited. I went through the first-time home buyers program, and I purchased a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house at 18 years old. After 2 years of being on food stamps, I found myself increasingly growing to hate the program. I felt awful while I was on the program. It was such a level of disrespect and deprivation. I couldn't take it any longer. I removed myself from the food stamp program, but however, due to me working and going to college, I had to remain on child care assistance. After having my baby in 1996, buying my home in 1997, the same real estate company offered me a job. I became a secretary, later a rental assistant manager, and later in December 2005, I became a licensed real estate agent. However, from 1996 to early 2005, I was a single mom, working hard, working 2 jobs sometimes, going to college and maintaining honors. By November 2004, I gave my life to Christ. Met my husband. We got married October 2005. After becoming a Christian, I became an ordained minister. My faith began to challenge and propel me to work for families and kids and tackle the problems that plague the Black communities. I lived it, and I wanted to reverse the plague. I had begun and purposed in my heart that I would become that change and advocate for my family and friends. In 2006, I felt compelled by God to take more responsibility for my daughter's education. I took her out of the public education in the 4th grade, and I wanted to give her a Christian education by homeschooling her. So we did. My husband and I did not know what that would entail, but we obeyed God. Later, in 2007, we opened up a Christian homeschool academy as an extension of our evangelistic work. My husband and I are now homeowners in Chicago, Illinois for the last 3 years. My husband is the owner of his own barbershop in the South Shore community in Chicago for the last 5 years, and we are continuing our ministerial work with our Christian school and our co-op group to support the families in the city of Chicago.
Pastor Fields, if you could wrap it up, your time is considerably over, so if you could wrap it up. You can make a concluding statement.
Oh, wrap it up, okay. And one more point, that we graduated our oldest daughter, she's 22, from being homeschooled all the way to 12th grade. We graduated her from our homeschool academy, and now she just walked across the stage from the University of Bridgeport with a degree in nutritional science with a 3.1 GPA from being homeschooled. Thank you.
Are there examples of successful anti-poverty programs that you have been a part of that address these problems for youth?
Thank you, Member Flores. Yeah, and that's I'm hearing everybody testify as well over the same thing, and I'm finding it hard to understand why, when the word is said hard work, why is that interpreted in a different way? I realize all of us sitting here, everyone in this room has worked hard to some extent. But what we're saying is, and I believe you all would agree, that even where you all sit as representative, Congress, and senators, you did not do it by not working hard. And so we just need to understand what that word means. We're saying that you have to persevere, you have to endeavor. And for me, I grew up in the same environments that everyone sitting here is testifying about. Again, my mother was on drugs, in and out of prison. My grandmother did not have federal aid. My grandmother bought a house in 1972 working as a janitor at Louisiana State University. So before the civil rights, there was no federal aid. There was no welfare and food stamp. So I'm sorry if I come from an environment where I have seen that you do not have to rely on government.
Right.
You can work hard and persevere no matter how long it takes, and that's what I did. I got the food stamps for a couple of years, so I'm not here to say totally dissolve it. People do need help, but what I'm here to say, and especially working in the real estate industry, it doesn't have to be perpetual.
Right.
You know, you got families that pass Section 8 and welfare down like it's an inheritance. The Bible says we ought to lay up an inheritance for our children's children, and it's not government entitlement.
When you said you homeschooled your kids, and I want to understand what values you teach them.
Oh, I definitely teach them personal responsibility. And even to add to that, what you were saying about trade, me and my husband both, even though I have a bachelor's degree, I also have a trade. My husband is a barber. He has a trade. We have lived the life they're saying with the living wages. I bought a house making $4.25 an hour. So we understand living on wages, but the way we got out of poverty is what you're saying, is we got trade. We went and got an education. And me and my husband talk about that all the time. If the government could make trade more accessible, you know, spend those federal dollars so people can sharpen their skills and get out. My husband just bought us a 3-bedroom home, 2 full-bath home in Chicago, being a barber with a trade. He has a 10th grade education, and he did it with a trade skill. So those are the kind of programs that we should be advocating for our government to sharpen our skills, bring back those trade skills into the Black community so that we can rise above poverty. We can't do it with just a high school education all the time. We need trade. We need skills.
All right, let's talk about this. On one side, you have Latasha Fields sharing her personal story. Supporters point out that this isn't a political talking point. It's her life experience. She has spoken about growing up in a poor, drug-affected community with a mother who struggled with addiction and incarceration. She became pregnant at 17, and by many of the social indicators often discussed in policy debates, critics say she could have easily become another difficult statistic. But her supporters argue that her life took a different path because of the values and guidance she received, particularly from her grandmother, who emphasized responsibility and perseverance. Fields has described working early jobs, including at Burger King, and relying briefly on assistance programs before eventually becoming financially independent. In her testimony, she has explained that she used those programs temporarily, but did not want to remain dependent on them long term. She later built a life centered on faith, family, and community work. During her appearance before Congress, Fields focused on practical ideas she believes can help others succeed, including encouraging vocational trades. She pointed to her husband's experience, supporting their family and owning a barber business despite not finishing high school, as an example of how skilled trades can provide opportunity and stability. The exchange becomes more heated when Ilhan Omar responds. Critics of Omar say she appeared dismissive of Fields' emphasis on faith, particularly when she suggested that prayer alone cannot solve social and economic challenges. Supporters of Omar, however, argue that her point was about the need for structural solutions and public policy alongside personal effort. Another tense moment occurs when Omar brings up childcare support Fields received while pursuing her education. Critics say Omar was attempting to undermine Fields' story by highlighting the role of government assistance. Supporters of Omar argue she was pointing out that social support systems can play an important role in helping people succeed. Fields supporters say this exchange illustrates two very different approaches to addressing poverty. One emphasizes individual responsibility, family support, faith, and community effort. The other emphasizes systemic barriers and the role of government programs in helping people overcome those challenges. Fields has also been involved in community initiatives, including homeschool networks and support systems designed to help families in her area. Efforts her supporters say demonstrate a commitment to helping others succeed as well. For many observers, the exchange reflects a broader philosophical divide in American politics, whether the path to opportunity lies primarily through personal initiative and community support, or through broader government programs designed to address systemic inequality.